I want to add more detail on the government and rulership of Mali, and all the information I'm about to present to you is from this book, Headlines in History 1300s, the chapter on Mali, of course. By his Egyptian contemporary Al-Omari, he is, quote, the most important of the Moslem Negro kings. His land is the largest, his army the most numerous. He is the king who is the most powerful, the richest, the most fortunate, the most feared, and his enemies, and the most able to do good to those around him. He expanded the territories of Mali west to the Atlantic coast, north to the Sahara to the salt mining regions, east to the great cities of Timbuktu and Gao, and south to the gold producing regions. According to Al-Omari, quote, his empire was square in shape, being 4 months of travel in length, and at least as much in breadth, unquote. It measured perhaps 1,500 miles by 1,000 miles, roughly the size of all of Western Europe. The next paragraph talks about how Mali was governed. The government was set up, pretty much. Governing this mammoth empire was a giant task that took keen judgment, wisdom, and administrative skill. His domains were as varied as their people. At the close of his reign, there were 24 semi-independent kingdoms within the Empire of Mali. Most of these had tribal chiefs whom Musa had left in power so long as long as they demonstrated their loyalty to him. The others had governors whom the emperor had placed in power. Some of these governors were generals who had conquered the territories. Mansa Musa made other men governors in recognition of outstanding services to him and the empire. In addition to these kingdoms, there were territories under the direct control of the emperor. Within each of these, there were further subdivisions into provinces placed under the administration of furbas, governors. The major towns and cities were under molktrifs, mayors. Furbas and molktrifs were appointed by the Mansa. Mansa Musa was able to maintain peace throughout his land, a major accomplishment. It took a huge army to do this. The upkeep and vast standing army required a good deal of money, but the money was available thanks to Mansa Musa's efficient tax system and the prosperity of the empire. Now the caravans of Morocco, Egypt, and North Africa came to Mali, and the emperor sent his ambassadors and agents to reside in Fez, Morocco's capital, and Cairo, and other important centers. Mansa Musa's capital became a major crossroad of the Muslim world, and daily the city was thronged with merchants, traders, and scholars from North Africa and Egypt who had come on business or had settled there. As a devout Muslim, Mansa Musa welcomed the men of Islam from whatever quarter they came. It was a time of general expansion for the Muslim world, a time when it led the West in learning, arts, and culture. Religion and trade also went together. Mansa Musa reorganized these vital elements of Islam and encouraged them to the utmost. Arab travelers through Mali described the women as beautiful, and another shocking quote from Ibn Battuta when he saw some of the things going around here. He said, women go naked into the Sultan's presence without even a vow. His daughters also go about naked. On the 27th night at Ramadan, I saw about 100 women slaves coming out of the Sultan's palace with food, and they were naked. 2 daughters of the Sultan were with them, and these had no vow either, although they had big breasts. The blacks threw dust and cinders on their heads as a sign of good manners and respect. They have buffoons who appear before the Sultan when the poets are reciting their praise songs, and then a good number of Negroes eat the flesh of dogs and donkeys. Another interesting fact, you had to have certain papers to enter Mali. and Ibn Battuta had a right forward to the semi-permanent non-Negro residents of Mali to get the papers ready so he could cross the Sankara River into the capital. Suleiman would be the last of the competent Mali rulers who died in 1359. And one of the incompetent rulers, Mansa Mard's daughter II, sold the famous orb of gold that the emperors of Mali had captured from Ghana earlier in its history. That is, of course, the same orb of gold shown here. The next book in this series, the 1400s, has a chapter on Songhai, and it says about the people of West Africa. In the 11th century, they adopted the faith of Islam, probably because of influence from the Muslim countries with whom they traded, but the Songhai themselves were not much affected by Islam. About the same time, a capital city was established at Gao, and judging by Mansa Musa's delight at the capture of the city by his army, it must have been a wealthy important place. Songhai became a tributary state of Mali for a time. That means they gave them gold and other goods. From 1325 until 1335, when Ali Colin restored people to independence, it was a perpetual war for the Songhai to maintain their independence, for they were oppressed on all sides by hostile tribes, all of whom were anxious to extend their dominion. In 1464 came an ambitious man named Suni Ali, who brought Songhai as one of the dominant kingdoms as the dominant kingdom of West Africa, and captured the major cities of Timbuktu and Jenne. One Arab writer, Il-Khatib, says of him, he was always victorious. He directed himself against no country without destroying it. No army led by him in person was put to rout. Always conqueror, never conquered. He left no region, town, or village without throwing his cavalry against it, warring against its inhabitants and ravaging it. Despite his achievements, he was not very well liked, as he was very ruthless and cruel, and one of his generals, Muhammad Tori, took the title Askia, and usurped the throne. And it is obvious by his name, this man was a Muslim. This empire, which was forced together through war, he set out to organize and to properly administer the state, which I'll go into Songhai in the next video.